news and views beyond the mainstream media.
And it is that while the lethality of their power is greater than ever, their capacity to impose control over the politically awakened masses of the world is at a historical low. Namely, in earlier times, it was easier to control 1 million people. Literally, it was easier to control 1 million people than physically to kill 1 million people. Today, it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than to control 1 million people.
The smoke in the air of our Concord bridges and Pearl Harbors is always smelled first by the farmers who come from their simple homes to find the fire and fight.
But if you embark on instituting a society where government protects you from yourself, you're in big trouble. And that's what they're doing. That's all government is force. I mean, do you have a choice about paying Medicare taxes? This government uses force to mold behavior or mold the economy. They've overstepped the bounds and they violated the whole concept of our revolution and our Constitution.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Thursday edition of Freedom Link Radio here on the Orion Talk Radio Network. I'm Joe Joseph. Along with me is Tim Watts, and our guest tonight is our good friend Popeye from federaljack.com and Down the Rabbit Hole. And before the show tonight, Timmy and I were like, oh, man, what the heck are we going to talk about? Oh, we'll figure something out. And good gracious. It's amazing how these, how all of a sudden, out of nowhere, all this news pops up.
Yeah, and then the floodgates of news just opened up. Oh,
good night, Irene, man. And, you know, folks, you have to wonder why news comes out at certain times. That's the first thing. I always wonder that. Why does this particular piece of news, why is it released now? So let's get right into it, shall we? The headline on Drudge. And all I have to say to this is...
Okay.
Obama's literary agent 1991 booklet. Born in Kenya and raised in Indonesia and Hawaii. As if, you know, as if anybody in the alternative media needed any validation.
You're a birther.
Oh, come on now. Come on now. Yes, I am. And I'll tell you why. Because as a vet, you when you take that oath, you take it for life. And, you know, part of our Constitution says specifically that you have to be a natural-born American citizen to be president of the United States. It's really not that hard to understand or to figure out. And there's been plenty of evidence up to now to show us that he's not a natural-born American citizen.
But why is that important?
Why is it important? Because
Sarcasm added, by the way.
If we can get someone within Congress, and I'm hoping there's somebody with cojones to be able to do this, and it's really up to us, folks, to give them the cojones, you know, whether it's with a nail bat or with just calling them and being a pest. It doesn't matter. But the fact is that we need to get this guy out. And why do I say that? Everybody says, oh, well, you know, then you got Biden. Well, because if you even have Biden, all of the stuff that Obama has done up to now is null and void. And he defrauded the American people by lying about who he is, where he was born. That's a treasonous act. So I think a public hanging would be necessary if convicted. I'm serious, man. I mean, like chop square style in Saudi Arabia, just like right in Riyadh.
But who would we get to possibly run the gallows? Let me think.
That's a tough one.
Who would do that?
Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking that I'll put my name in the hat.
Do you realize that when every new president comes in, right? They reestablish like all the old executive orders from the previous putz that was in there.
Yep.
And so that would, if he got out, not only would that null and void everything he's done, but all the stuff that's been since little Georgie Porgy pudding in pie, his 8 years, okay, that stuff too. All those executive orders would be, because Obama signed in executive orders continuing all of Bush's executive orders.
Exactly.
Did you
Exactly.
look at the enormity of that, though, Popeye? What you just said, though, the enormity of if you rescind everything that's happened during the Obama administration and everything from the Bush administration, holy shit! Think about where that takes us.
It takes us back to before 9/11 when we were
Isn't
still
that
free.
incredible? I mean,
Yeah, well, that would only be very temporarily. Let me say this. It'll only be temporarily because all it'll take is the next person, the next puppet to get in there and reaffirm everything that he done. So, I mean, that's all well and good. But this is what makes me think here. Okay, so this news comes out, which is very damning. And it really solidifies what Sheriff Joe's doing down in Arizona, in Maricopa County. And, Breitbart was killed over this. So the flag should go up to say, a real true investigation into Breitbart's death has to happen now because of this news and because of the shiesty way he was killed.
Because
and
of this
his
news?
coroner.
Wait, because of this news? I mean, like, the coroner dies, but that's not shady.
No, it's not shady.
The other guy, the guy that sees Breitbart die, right, or collapse in the street, he's in fear for his life, so he goes into hiding.
Yeah.
But no, but he just died of natural causes, Joe.
That's right. That's right. And
no, gentlemen, these are all coincidences. I assure you, gentlemen. They're all coincidences.
Jim, I will sleep easy tonight. Thank you so much.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you so much. So we have all this evidence. We need somebody to step up, if not the American people, and demand justice. And I know the guy's half black. His mom was white. His dad was black. He's still human. Doesn't matter. One race. Remember? We got to get over this freaking left-right paradigm, this false racial divide. It's time to clean house. But what worries me is the reaction. What's the reaction going to be? Is this going to be tolerated? Or is there going to be an event to distract people? And that's what bothers me is typically when news comes out like this, not soon after, there's some sort of event that follows.
Well, NATO kicks off tomorrow.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on there's so many things in flux and in play right now that can totally make his being a non-citizen a moot point. That's what I'm saying. So I don't know. When you look at it, the timing, it was released today. Why was it released today? Why wasn't it released a long time ago when he got this information? Mm-hmm. What's the deal? What's the strategy behind doing all of this? That's the question I need to know. So, folks, if you go to Breitbart.com, you'll see that it's his main story, and it's also the front on Drudge. And this is a note from senior management. It says, Andrew Breitbart was never a birther, and Breitbart News is a site that has never advocated the narrative of birtherism. In fact, Andrew believed, and we do, that President Barack Obama was born in Honolulu, Hawaii, on August 4th, 1961. Bullshit. Yet, Andrew also believed that the complicit mainstream media has refused to examine President Obama's ideological past or carefully crafted persona he and his advisors has constructed for him. It is for that reason that we launched The Vetting, an ongoing series in which we explore the ideological background of President Obama and other presidential candidates, not to relitigate 2008, but because ideas and actions have consequences. It is also in this spirit that we've discovered and now present the booklet described below, one that includes a marketing pitch for a forthcoming book by the then young, otherwise unknown, former president of the Harvard Law Review. It is this evidence, not of the president's foreign origin, but that Barack Obama's public persona has perhaps been presented differently at different times. So isn't that interesting how they put it out like that? Still politically correct. Here we have a birth certificate that's clearly been photoshopped. We have a selective service form that's clearly been photoshopped. A social security number from Connecticut when he was born in Hawaii. And now this. What more evidence do you people need before you take action? And I'm not talking to the listeners of this broadcast.
You're just being racist.
I'm just being totally and completely racist.
Yes, you're just being racist. It has nothing to do with law or anything like that. Law.
That's right. Don't go away, folks. When we come back, spy drones over Denver and California Food Police taking away your raw milk it gun. Don't forget to vote up Freedom Link on TalkStream Live. That's I put the link in the chat room for all the chatters. But you go to TalkStream Live, you can vote us up, and we rise up the ranking. I just want to beat out Rush Limbaugh. That's all. I mean, that's all there is to it. Like, I just want to beat out a little bit of Rush. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Before the break, we were talking about Obama and the bombshell evidence released by Breitbart today. And, Timmy, you brought up a good point, something that a lot of people probably didn't notice. Why don't you tell the listeners during the break what we talked about?
Yeah, thanks very much. No, I'm just, the point, the gist that I was getting to in our off-air conversation was the fact that this guy's a made man. I mean, he's been put into that position. He was groomed for this. But the other thing about that, the fact that he was put in there and there's someone pulling strings for him, the same thing can be said about what's going on in Chicago. Rahm didn't belong to Chicago. I mean, remember the big fight about, hey, how can this guy run for, mayor of Chicago? He doesn't even live here, and somehow, he's just the mayor of Chicago. He somehow, Daley steps aside, he gets in. I don't know, I'm just thinking both of them are put in place. But, the story that you refer to about Obama, a lot of people might have saw this, but I forget who the reporter was that was interviewing him. But they were on stage, and there's this fly buzzing around the reporter's head. And he kind of swats at it a few times, and then it goes around Obama. And Obama just sits there very calm, cool, and collected. And he just, out of nowhere, just snatches his fly out of the air, flicks it to the ground. But, I mean, it's no surprise. He doesn't look surprised at all. It's like he knew he was going to do it. It was effortless. The point I was getting through to you guys, you and Pop, I was like, this guy's got some mad skills.
Oh, I thought you were talking like he's a ninja.
Well, no, I've heard rumors, people, you've seen
that
him.
he's a ninja?
No, CIA.
Is he friends with Ben Fulford?
CIA links and stuff like that. But I'm telling you, who knows what kind of training.
Wait, hold on. Let's get some clear. Ben Fulford, that guy, if that guy's not a co-intel op, he's just a moron.
That guy has some sway, baby.
Him and guys like Dallas Goldbug and stuff, the reason why they're so over the top is that's complete operative behavior, literally.
But I'd almost pay money to see Fulford speak Japanese because that's a hoot, dude.
Oh man, watch it on YouTube, folks. I mean, that stuff is great, and I
just bust my balls laughing at that.
I hate to digress, but that crap is freaking.
Guy sounds like he's choking on a steak bone.
And, with Obama, the Telegraph comes out. Now, this is Tim Stanley, Dr. Tim Stanley. He's a historian of the United States, and he wrote a biography of Pat Buchanan. That had to be a freaking hot seller. But anyway, he wrote an article that says, Obama's literary agent says he was born in Kenya. How did the mainstream miss this? I'm not even going to get into the article, but the question is very interesting and entertaining because, how did the mainstream media miss the fact that Sheriff Joe's cold case posse goes and uncovers the really shoddy Photoshop job done to the birth certificate, the selective service form? I mean, how did they miss that? Why? Because it's their man. Why else would they miss it? Just like they're probably going to miss this too. As all of this evidence mounts, they're all going to miss it. And that's why it's so important that we all hold our non-representing representatives to account on this. I mean, we need an investigation that has already occurred 10,000 times before. Yeah. But, and really what also we need is somebody to have the cojones to bring up a trial, and not impeachment, Impeachment's too, I mean, we could, and it has to happen, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, I want to see a full-blown Rosenberg trial, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we haven't had something like that in a long time. And, you know, of course, it came to, after the fact, they were patsies. You know, those poor guys went down for no reason, the Rosenbergs. But this, we can actually get one of these people for clearly lying about who he was and getting the highest office in the land. So I don't know, guys. I'm hoping that something comes of this, because this has really got me pissed off.
Well, you know, if the rumors are true about him with his connections and stuff like that, you think back, the CIA then has held the presidency in this country since Reagan, since H.W. Bush was vice president.
That's right. Make him swing like Mussolini. You ever see the way he was hung? Put on display? I mean, that's...
You have a fascination with this stuff, dude.
Well, you know why? Because you know why crime is so low in the Middle East?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because they're barbaric and ruthless about when they administer their punishment.
Yeah, exactly. Because they are made an example of.
Damn right.
You know, and because of that, people are held to account. It's accountability, whether it's extreme or not. It's still accountability.
So then, why hang him? Why don't we just give him to the Pakistanis?
Ooh.
Well, why do that? That's too.
I would give him to the herders and the farmers that lost children.
Yeah, there you
due
go.
to drone strikes, and be like, "Would you like the person responsible for your child's death? Here, have fun. Bye. Here's a large pile of rocks too to throw. Have a nice day."
I didn't think about that. That's cool. You know, the public disemboweling and lighting the entrails on fire. That's not half as cruel as that.
And everybody else that's involved, Panetta, anybody, and going back to the Bush administration, any of the dirtbag lawyers that think it's okay to blow little kids up with bombs, and, well, it's all in the name of protecting people for the war on terror. So, no, everybody. They should all be given to those people that have been affected like that, and let them, you know, just give out their own justice. And that's it. Call it a day.
Miss Milky the Clown in the chat room just had something better. He said she put, move him into Fukushima Reactor 4 as a support pillar.
I like that.
I like that. That's a good one. Okay. All right. Well,
but that support pillar ain't going to last too long.
I sure won't. I mean, you see how he's built. That radiation is going to eat him alive. That's a daggum shame. Well, folks, I mean, the big thing is put pressure. We have to put pressure on our elected officials to do their due diligence and their job. It all comes down to that. Now, in other news, this spy drone, everybody, I don't know if you've heard about this near midair collision over Denver, but...
by the way, we called this not too long ago.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
It was like a week ago, wasn't it? Like a week and a half ago?
Like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Barely.
Literally.
Now, this mystery object, quote, unquote, thought to be a military or law enforcement drone flying in controlled airspace over Denver, almost caused a catastrophic midair crash with a commercial jet Monday. Now, this is no goose. The pilot of a Cessna jet radioed air traffic controllers to warn them that a, quote, remote-controlled aircraft had flown past his plane far too close for comfort. Quote, something just went by the other way about 20 or 30 seconds ago. It was like a large remote-control aircraft, the pilot said. The craft was reported as being at 8,000 feet above sea level, or about 2,800 feet above the ground. At the time the pilot reported seeing it, it did not show up on radar. The type of drones used by NATO typically fly at 10,000 feet and below. Other tactical military drones can fly up to 18,000 feet. Denver 9 News has reported that the FAA is investigating and that they describe this as potentially extremely dangerous.
Did you see the news report on this, though? The video?
Well, yes, and when we come back from break, we're going to play a clip. This is a news piece.
Wait till you hear the audio.
Oh, yeah.
Did you hear the excuse? Well, it could be a remote control aircraft. Really? You can fly remotely modeled airplanes at 8,000 feet?
Well, no. It's 8,000 feet above sea level. It's 2,800 feet above the ground. So, yes, that's entirely possible. But we'll talk about this when we come back from break, and we're going to play this news clip, this whitewash of it. So don't go away, folks. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Folks, don't forget the email address, the freedom link at CenturyLink.net. That's the freedom link at CenturyLink.net. Joe Joseph, Tim Watts, and Popeye here to bring you the crazy news that has gone down today, and to think that Timmy and I were actually sweating the fact that we wouldn't have much to talk about tonight. Holy schmoly.
Boy, were we wrong.
Boy, and before the break, we were talking about these spy drones, and it's a near collision over Denver, and I want to play the news piece now of this this near collision, and pay close attention to what they're saying and what they attribute this to. This is very interesting. Here we go. At some point in time, today, or not.
Don't you just love when the player freezes up?
Timing is everything. I mean, that's it. Timing is everything in show business, they say.
Oh, gosh, well, it's that dramatic pause, it's a dramatic pause, yes.
Pregnant pause, they call that.
Yes. Let me just get through the sponsor message, if I could. That would be very good, since I had to refresh the player. Yes, that's always good. But one thing that's interesting is at the end of this thing, the anchor's like, it's
Sky over Denver is getting a lot of attention this week. In a moment, details on why certain aircraft are going to have a lot of people looking up tomorrow. First, though, to a mystery. The search for clues about a mystery object over Denver that nearly caused a mid-air collision. New tonight, 9 Wants to Know's Will Ripley has been looking into this since we got a news tip this afternoon. So, Will, what have you learned?
Mark, we learned the FAA is launching an investigation tonight, and here's why. Take a look at this. This is live radar on FlightAware.com. You can see each of these planes, which signify private and commercial air traffic around the Denver area. Now, as far as we know, the mystery object we're talking about did not show up on this radar yesterday, and investigators believe it could pose a serious safety hazard. A close call in the skies over Denver.
Remote-controlled aircraft or what? Something just went by the other way.
A pilot called air traffic control when something flew past his plane.
About 20 to 30 seconds ago, and it was like a large remote-controlled aircraft.
This 9 Wants to Know animation based on radio transmission shows the corporate jet was 8,000 feet over Cherry Creek when the mystery object came close enough to make any pilot nervous.
That's an issue, because now we have something in controlled airspace that poses a danger.
Former NTSB investigator and 9 News aviation analyst Greg Feith
Air 125.
listened to the air traffic recordings. He believes the object could be one of 3 things. 1, a military or law enforcement drone.
Was this an unmanned vehicle that was part of some sort of law enforcement operation?
2, a remote-controlled aircraft.
Was this somebody that had flown a large model aircraft inadvertently into the airspace?
3, a large bird.
It just caught the pilot's eye, so he believed it was an aircraft, but could have been a very large wingspan bird.
Any one of those things could be catastrophic if it collides with an airplane. Just look at what happened 3 years ago on the Hudson River when a bird strike took down a commercial airliner.
The threat is there from a collision standpoint.
FAA spokesman Mike Fergus says investigators will talk to the pilot and look at other clues.
So we'll do as much as we can here to try to track back what time it was, to probably talk with some remote control clubs, that type of thing.
The mission now to identify that mystery object before another close call or worse. Tonight, we've been reaching out to our sources in local and federal law enforcement, also in the military, to find out if maybe there was a drone flying over Denver yesterday, but nobody has been able to confirm anything. We also called local airports and some model aircraft clubs who say they also hadn't heard anything, but they promised to look into this. So the mystery continues, but maybe more answers soon, Mark.
One of those things that makes you wonder, Will.
Yeah, you wonder, and it could be dangerous if it comes close to a plane.
Could be indeed. All right, Will Ripley in the Information Center. Will.
Well, what do you know about that? Oh,
Hey, Joe.
You wonder, guy.
Yeah, hey, Tim. Hey, Joe. Golly gee, makes you wonder. You think it was a remote control airplane? No, I don't, you dick. I think it was a military drone being used by either the military, border patrol, police, or whatever.
What a moron. What a freaking moron. I just unscrewed my brain and I'm in the media. Wow, guys, what do you think of that?
Yeah, or Yes, I think it's a large wingspan bird. Yes,
Yeah.
it could be a large wingspan bird.
Yeah,
What,
what-
like a flipping griffin?
Dude,
Yeah, exactly.
Joe, let me ask you a question. When was the last time you saw a bird the size of a Predator drone?
That's what I'm saying. These things, it's not exactly like a short wing. That's like a 30-foot wingspan.
Yeah, if you see something that big, run.
You got a Pegasus?
Yeah, run, because it's probably...
For a while, it's not like he's not going to, he's seen birds and stuff like that. This guy's been in the air as a pilot for a while, so I think he's going to distinguish a bird from a freaking drone.
But come on, the news reporter knows better than the pilot with like 30 years experience.
Oh, yeah.
KEB in the chat room just said a pterodactyl, perhaps.
That's what I was thinking, dude.
A pterodactyl. That's exactly right.
You think you noticed that, though?
No, especially, no witness accounts of a pterodactyl. I mean, come on. You can't even see that, So you have this thing flying at 8,000 feet. And, to be quite honest with you, at 2,800 feet above the ground, could it be a remote control airplane of sorts? Yeah, chances are it might be.
No way, dude. There's no way some battery-operated remote RC plane's going to fly that high without radio interference. No way.
See it?
It was a remote-controlled plane, all right. It just was model RC plane.
Exactly.
It to be from like a model RC club. Obviously not. I mean, but do you see the smoke screen, folks? Do you see how they're trying to do it?
I mean, that story I was trying to text Joe to say he cut it at halfway, because that story goes like halfway through, it's all right, and then it just goes to shit, It's like you can see the disinformation come out all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's bad. And
That's my favorite part, though, Tim, is when he says, well, it could be a remote control airplane. You look at the guy's face. Like, look at the video, Joe, when you're watching it. Look at the guy's face when he says it. The correspondent doesn't even believe what he's saying.
I know. That kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? Kind of like he's saying, oh, could have been a UFO. Oh, yeah, the Martians are coming. In the form of large wingspan geese. in the form of large wingspan geese.
That whole thing went south when they got to point 2. They were good up to point 1.
Yeah.
Well, but you see the lengths they go to cover up the fact that there's already almost collisions with drones in the skies over the United States. So rather than be like, wow, this is a serious problem. No, they're going to come out with huge mutant geese or some dick with his RC plane. Just like, remember when there was a terror threat? Remember a couple months back? It was maybe a year ago now. They're going to use RC-controlled planes to a Capitol building.
Yep.
Really?
Really?
Yeah. Well, of course they are. Come on. I mean, that's just the way it is. Akin to the IRS incidents. Oh, yes, this crazy guy flying this airplane. They're going to do it everywhere. Oh, gosh, they're single-engine airplane.
The point of this exercise is, folks, think, and most of this audience does, but boy, you got to get those people at work and everybody else, hey, put 2 and 2 together. Think about what they're saying in this story and how much absurdity is really there. I mean, it takes but 2 seconds to go, hey, yeah, this is a lot of crap.
It's most certainly a lot of crap. So,
you'd think if it was Mothra flying around, somebody would have spotted that.
Yeah, but you know what's sad? You know what's sad is how many people in the United States hearing this story are going to think that it's Mothra. Probably a good portion, I have to say.
Well, if it comes off the nightly news, they will.
Well, it could have been a bird, really, Perhaps it was the uranium Pure 32 explosive space modulator. What the heck?
You know how many people will actually go and believe that, because to them it's more comfortable for them to believe that it could be some mutant super huge goose that could probably eat people, rather than believe the reality of the situation, that we shouldn't have drones flying overhead, because look what happened.
Dude, it's a Fukushima goose. See, it's the radiation and it mutated.
That wouldn't surprise me.
No, not at all. Not at all.
How long till we start hearing excuses like that?
Well, now I will say this: the tinfoil hat community might well take that up as evidence. The Fukushima goose incident of Denver, 2012. That could be, it could be because the Mayan thing is starting to happen, and it's starting to cause these hidden genes in the DNA sequence to activate, and they all become giants again. I mean, it could be anything.
Perhaps it was all the bullshit that comes out of Washington. It was just flying around in the air, and that's almost what collided with the plane.
Well, if that's the case, we wouldn't be able to fly anything in the air because our whole airspace would be covered with shit. So, yeah, I personally think it was one of Ben Fulford's ninjas on a parachuting. And he just missed the target.
Yeah.
But, folks, don't go away. The last segment of hour number 1 is coming up, and when we come back, we'll be talking about taking away your raw milk at gunpoint.
DependableVoice.com.
The homepage of OrionTalkRadio.com. And there you will find the Chip-In banner, and we're running a promotion right now where if you donate $20 or more, you get a free T-shirt. That's right, you get a free T-shirt. And what a deal. I mean, how often? Heck, $20 for that T-shirt? It's actually worth it. So go ahead and donate today to Orion Talk Radio and help keep this Orion Talk Radio experience going and expanding. And we're here now talking about this California food police incident. And guys, the L.A. County Health Enforcers, this is naturalnews.com, conduct door-to-door raw milk confiscation operations.
Whoa. Rewind that. Can you rewind that and say that one more time? They conduct what?
Door-to-door raw milk confiscation
as in they go door-to-door in, like, neighborhoods?
Open up, man. Police, we want your milk.
Dude, if someone came to my door, do you have raw milk? I'd be like, blow me and leave.
Yeah, this is Natural News is reporting this, and this is in a bombshell revelation of the depth of the food police state that now exists in L.A. County, California. Natural News has learned that the L.A. County Health Department has unleashed door-to-door raw milk confiscation teams to threaten and intimidate raw dairy customers into surrendering raw milk products they illegally purchase and own. According to Mark McAfee, both L.A. County and San Diego counties have attempted to acquire customers' names and addresses from Organic Pastures, that's organicpastures.com, for the sole purpose of sending food confiscation teams to customers' homes to remove the raw milk from customers' refrigerators, using both phone calls and home visits. These teams intimidate customers and try to force them to give up their milk. These revelations have surfaced in a recorded Natural News interview with Mark McAfee, and you can listen to it at naturalnews.com. But are armed raids next, guys? I mean, seriously, what's next?
Well, it's very, very timely considering we just had, Elvin Schlanger and Melinda Olson and Liz Reitzig on this week, with the Milk Freedom Riders.
This is just out of control, dude, for real.
It's
no, for real. Like, dude, if you had told me 5 years ago, right, that they'd be pretty much doing armed, and they have. Look what they did to, the raw milk people already. They've been raiding them at gunpoint, the Amish farmers and everything. If you had told me this 5-6 years ago, I would have said, well, that's what's coming down the pike. But, I don't think it's going to get to that point now. It's like people, you tell somebody, hey, man, the raw milk guy got raided yesterday. And they're like, yeah, I know, I heard. And they don't get upset. Like, it's par for the course.
No, exactly. And
what the hell happened, dude?
What the hell happened? What's going on in this country of ours?
That's what I'm talking about. What is going on? Why is nobody upset about this?
I don't know.
How would you feel if someone came to your front door and said to you, "Do you have raw milk, Joe Joseph?" I know what would happen.
Well, I mean, this just goes to show you just the extent and the extent and the depth of the police state. And Ken from the Information Nation here on the Orion Talk Radio Network just Skyped me an article. Utah school fined $15,000 for accidentally selling soda during lunch. Oh, criminy! Oh no, not soda! Gosh, what are those kids going to do? Oh. A Utah high school is learning the hard way that the government is serious about nudging students away from food it doesn't want them to consume. Davis High School in Salt Lake City area is having to fork over a whopping $15,000 in fines to the feds because it accidentally sold soda through a vending machine during lunch.
Oh, what the hell is that all about?
This is such bullshit. For real.
No, but I mean, what's the foundation? Is that like a religious thing or something? What the hell? Why can't they sell it through every school I've been to, they do that. What's so special about Utah?
It's the food police, Tim. This is that healthier eating crap.
That's
like
right.
the police take the food police taking away that kid's lunch a couple months ago and replacing it with nuggets.
Yeah. Well, that's just pure insanity because after, and Joe knows, well, Joe doesn't because he keeps his kids out of the public school system. But I had to send my kids through. And a lot of you people know what that's like. And a lot of the public school systems are hurting. So to slap them with a $15,000 fine for selling pop, I mean, Judas frickin'
And according to the Blaze, federal law requires the school to turn off its soda machines during the lunch period, which is 47 minutes a day. And Davis High School did not turn off the machines in the lunchroom. However, the school didn't realize that there was another machine. It did turn off the ones in the lunchroom, but the school didn't realize that there was another machine in the school bookstore that wasn't being turned off. And when the food police realized it, the school was hit with a 75-cent per student fine for the duration of the offense.
Wow.
Now the school is going to have to cut money to the fine arts program to make up the cost.
Of course. So
that's what I'm getting at. How stupid.
But see, it's about money. That's all it's about. It's about sucking everything out of everybody in this freaking country. Oh, it just makes me so goddamn angry.
It makes me angry too, dude.
The kids are going to suffer because the soda machine was on. How does that benefit them in any way, shape, or form? I would love to debate some douchebag government bureaucrat right now. I would love for him to try to explain this to me. This really pisses me off. 15 grand from a school that can't afford it. Yeah, screw the kids and their education. That's not important. We're the federal government. We're going to commit. And who the hell is the federal government to be telling them there's a goddamn federal law, Joe, to turn the soda machine off? Are you freaking kidding me?
No, isn't it crazy? It's unbelievable.
It's nice that we reach a national audience. So to those of you in Utah, Judas frickin' Priest, get off your ass and make some noise about this because this is outrageous.
But this is a national law. This is a federal law. And unfortunately, this is the reason why Ron Paul wants to take the Department of Education and trash it. Because the federal government has no place in your child's education. They just don't. But the problem is the state and local governments have been so co-opted,
pussified,
because of federal funding, and because of the threat of the loss.
Where's the county sheriff? Where's the county sheriff? Where's somebody? I mean, where's the state? This is out of control. Let's everybody remember the basic rule, okay? Go back to like 8th grade civics class. Does anybody remember what the basic friggin' rule is? The states give the federal government power. This is out of goddamn control.
It is out of control. It is out of control. And unfortunately, we're not going to have any change as long as we continue to live in a lawless society. And that's exactly what we do. This is anarchy, folks. You may not think it because there's an appearance of the rule of law. However, the rule of law does not exist in America because if that was the case, then it would be consistent from the top on down. But as you've heard tonight in hour number 1, we've had drones in the sky almost causing a midair collision. We have a sitting president that is ineligible to be president of the United States, and yet nothing happens to him. And in the state of Utah, we have a soda machine, a school being fined $15,000 because the soda machine in the bookstore is left on during the lunch period. And, this confiscation of raw milk, not just happening in California, but also in the state of Minnesota, as you heard on Tuesday evening when we had Mr. Schlangen on talking about how he's got to go to court on Monday to defend himself because he provides organic food and wholesome food to his community. What the hell kind of world do we live in? And it's interesting because this brings me back to that clip that I played on Tuesday, the Paul Harvey clip. And, I think I may play it again next hour. And the only reason why is because it's so unbelievably accurate. So unbelievably accurate. And I mean, that was first aired in 1965. And like I said, he had made different changes to it over the years, but the concept, the core of it remains the same. And the one thing is, we got to turn things upside down. What's forward is backwards. What's right is wrong. What's truth is not truth. And so on and so forth. It's unbelievable, folks.
Dude, we live in bizarro world. Seriously, I woke up and we're in effing bizarro world.
Yeah.
We're
exactly
not in 1984. Right. We surpassed that about 6 miles ago.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, dude.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
So an example is to impress upon folks is 2 words, or the 2 acronyms, SOPA and PIPA. And hopefully folks get it. Because we made such a big stink. Everybody together made such a big stink. They had to backtrack. They had to retrace. And they came at us with something else. But the point is, people got up and they made a goddamn stink about something. And they wrote their congressman and they got pissed off. But, once a year doesn't cut it, folks. It's to the point of madness. Now it's like, do it every goddamn day. Send them a freaking letter every day and say, F you, do your freaking job. This is what we expect of you today. And that's probably almost what we got to do. If not a daily, a weekly basis. All right, here's what we expect of you this week. Don't screw it up. But, this once a year stuff, we just need to, people need to get a lot more active all the time.
You know how we can solve things? Here's two solutions real quick. Term limits and take the money out of politics. All these politicians, no more golden parachutes, no this other crap. Their wives get a paycheck. No, none of this crap. Okay, none of this at all. No more, nothing. You make $30,000 a year as a congressman or a senator, and when you're done, that's it. You don't get anything else. You get a gold watch maybe, and a thank you and a certificate.
And you don't get to become a lobbyist. You don't get to use the skills you learn.
No, it's against the law for you to do that. Actually,
that's right. Hour number 1 is done. Hour number 2 is on the way. When we come back, I'll play that Paul Harvey clip again just to blow your freaking mind. Europe is rocked by Spain's banks collapsing. Oh, and the Queen of Disco. It's hour number 2 of Freedom Link Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Joseph, along with Tim Watson. Our guest tonight, Popeye from FederalJack.com, and the broadcast down the rabbit hole here on the Orion Talk Radio Network. And before the break, I was telling you about the broadcast, or the piece by Paul Harvey entitled "If I Were the Devil," and it was originally aired in 1965. And we were talking about how everything's backwards. We live in a lawless society that what's up is down and left is right. Everything's backwards and opposite. So I want to play this for you again, just because how do people know? How could it be that they know what's going to happen 30, 40 years in advance? And I'm sure that people will be saying the same thing about us. And I'm not just talking about the host of this broadcast, but of all of you listening out there tonight. I'm sure they're going to say the same thing about you 30 or 40 years from now. Here it is.
If I were the devil, if I were the devil, if I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have 1/3 of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree, thee. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing. Paul Harvey.
How do you like that, guys? I mean, you just can't get any more spot on than that. And that's exactly what's going on today. It truly is.
Somewhat very prescient for 1965, eh?
Yeah. And it just kills me that people know this and they just don't do it. You know, they just don't. They just don't do anything about it. They just sit around.
Joe, unfortunately, many people do not know anything about this at all. It's unbelievable how many people do not know. And that's because they have been dumbed down by design. And the ones that do know and don't do anything, the ones that you're referring to, I have no use for them. And like Sam Adams said, may history forget you are our countrymen. I mean, if you're not going to do anything about it and you're just going to sit there and suckle off the teat of tyranny, then be gone with you, dirt bags.
Damn the dirt bags, full speed ahead. So you guys hear about the Kennedy?
Oh, please.
RFK the third.
Hey, I heard they went through a 24-hour drive-through. What do you call it? Service, blood work, everything, and they get results 24 hours. Huh? I mean, bam, in, out, done.
I mean, it's almost like a ninja autopsy.
Oh, that's Fulford's ninjas work for the coroner's office.
You didn't know that, did you?
No. Okay, that explains it. So
That's
Ben
right.
Fulford was the coroner. Okay.
It's like what do they call that? What do they call that Japanese cuisine where they they chop and they're just putting it all together? What the heck do they call that? That's stir fry, yeah, like that. Where they're just on that. You put all that stuff in the bowl and they throw it on the skillet and that's what they did, man. I mean, they just totally it's Mongolian barbecued. That's exactly right. Because have you ever noticed anybody that may like crime shows? There's a show that's been on Discovery for quite some time now called Dr. G. And she is the coroner down in Orlando, Florida. And she's continually talks about, she always talks about, we have to wait for the toxicology to come back. And it ends up being like 6 to 8 weeks later that it comes back.
So
how did they, where's the express lane?
That's why I said they went through the 24-hour quickie, coroner's express lane and, got her results back. Hey, it's a suicide. That's not shady. Nothing to see here. Just another Kennedy that died under shady circumstances, but there's nothing to see here. But she's just the wife, Popeye. Yeah. You know how guys say stupid stuff after sex to their wives? Or at the time maybe girlfriend, do you think she does not have or had knowledge of many things that perhaps people didn't want out? Just saying.
All I know is, boy, man, the Kennedys have had a really bad run.
Yeah.
You know, I think they got a really bad run going.
Not just them. Remember, I'm trying to remember which Bush it was. Was it Marvin? Remember was it the maid, the house cleaner that's like crushed in front of the garage by one of the cars?
Oh yeah, that was an accident.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I hate when things happen, you know.
All of these families, you know, from the so-called upper crust, we call them basically criminals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boy, I tell you what laundry, what dirty laundry these families have.
Oh, my, oh, my, oh, my.
But
we let these people run our country.
Let me ask the two of you a question. Just sit down and just think about this for a minute. If you have like 15 or 20 people in the same family all die under really weird circumstances, do you think maybe, just maybe, something's going on? Maybe?
No, not at all.
You don't think you think it's coincidence?
Absolutely.
You don't think it's a pattern?
That's what I was going to say.
And speaking of coincidence, when we come back from break, we're going to talk about some coincidence that Donna Summers was talking about before she passed away, as well as the coincidence as far as, you know, how Spanish banks are failing and the EU's in chaos. Oh, and, you know, the coincidence that maybe there was a nuclear reactor in the Kodak building. Yeah, so we'll talk about all that when we come back from break. You're listening to the Freedom Link on the Orion Talk Radio Network.
This camera is awesome. It should.
Welcome back, folks. The Orion Talk Radio Network has some great quality programming all day long. Geez, we're at 12 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. You've got Neutered Radio with the rad chick, Christina. And you've also got The Edge with John Stokes immediately following that from 1 to 3 p.m. on Monday through Friday here on the Orion Talk Radio Network. Joe Joseph here with Popeye and Tim Watts. And we, my friends, move on to the next topic. And that is the Queen of Disco, Donna Summers, thinks that she was killed by 9/11 particles. What do you think?
Well, if she was anywhere near 9/11, you know, and breathed in any of that toxic dust from New York, yeah, that's a you betcha. That's a you betcha for me. I mean, look how many people have died there already.
Go watch a movie called Dust to Dust.
Yeah,
the health
that's a
effects
great movie.
Of 9/11. You'll see some of the most disturbing stuff, like a school right down the street. They didn't even bother cleaning it out, and there was actual still dust inside the air vents and everything. Yeah. And this one whole class all has some form of leukemia or another. They're all getting cancer.
Todd Whitman said it was okay, though, Popeye. She said it was
she
okay.
should be arrested, dude. That woman should be arrested
One of the most criminal things ever done in this country's history.
Yes, and Bush and anybody in his administration that was, is passed the word down. I mean, obviously he's a war criminal and all those other things, but just for that day alone, that's criminal what they did to those people.
And, and then they had the balls to admit to us that it was for Wall Street. Oh, well, yeah, but we had to get Wall Street up and running. Yeah, really?
And
then you look 10 years later at who screws us in the ass.
And who financed the whole thing anyway to begin with? Wall Street.
Yeah.
So they make themselves look like the victims, and then they're like, well, we got to get back up, on our feet. We're first. So they sacrifice all these kids, all these people, these men, these women. No, it's disgusting. It's just disgusting behavior. They need to be held accountable. And it's ridiculous that it's taken this long for them to be held accountable for real.
Absolutely right. But you know what something positive that comes from her death is the fact that hopefully some more light is shined on the whole 9/11 ordeal, because we so often remember that the air is safe to breathe, and how many first responders now suffer from mesothelioma and health ailments because of it. So hopefully, this helps them champion their cause a little bit.
But that's only if somebody keeps the focus on it.
Exactly.
Because,
and
you
I
know,
was
the
just
mainstream
gonna
media
bring
is not
that
going to
up.
do that. The mainstream media is going to, her music and tributes and all this other crap.
I was just going to bring that up. Let's watch now and see how many people in the media actually go that far with the story. Oh, yeah, and by the way, she thinks she died from cancer from 9/11. I bet you none of them mentioned that. Oh, yeah, she died. She was 63 years old, blah, 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 and R.I.P.
An excerpt from this article. In a 2008 interview with the Daily Telegraph, she said that she had a premonition about the attacks a month beforehand. Afterwards, she said she suffered from severe depression and could not leave her Manhattan flat. Quote, I didn't want to talk to anybody. I had to keep the blinds down and stay in my bedroom. So, I mean, she was there the whole time. And, of course, she believes that because she stayed in her Manhattan flat the whole time, that she was poisoned by the dust of the World Trade Center, which is absolutely right. I mean,
they're waiting for them all to die because once they're all dead, there won't be any more people to sit and complain, and then they can move on, and history will forget these people. And that's exactly what's going on because nobody, and there are a few good people out there that are standing up, but as a whole, this country should be ashamed of itself for not, at the very least, somebody should be held accountable for children being sent into a school loaded with toxic dust, where now all of these children are sick. None of them are ever going to have normal lives, ever.
We talked about this the other night when we did the Fukushima show. It's like, you know, when there's a massive disaster that the government just cannot handle, they're not going to admit fault. They're not going to admit that everything was as bad as, you know, we eventually find out. Because basically for the litigation, think about all the millions of people that live in New York that breathed that stuff in. The people, the tens, the hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people that will die sometime in the next 50 years because of something they ingested.
There's so many people sick and dying already, Tim. It's
oh, no, you bet. I know. But I mean, think about how many more. And then,
dude, forever. What about the fact when they knock buildings down and they're still finding some of that dust?
Yeah.
It's a real shame. You know, there's a reason why they were called white elephants. There's a reason why that they were condemned, and it's simply because of the cost of abatement.
Well,
you know,
Harry got lucky.
Sure he did. He got lucky that in June of 2001 he got that insurance policy against terrorist attack by airplane.
He got double payment, Joe. Remember, he sued the insurance company.
$14 billion, and he's only sued for $7 million. It's like, hey, buy one get one free. Hey, all right.
Well, that number got debated a lot because he got awarded and then it got cut back.
I don't care what it got cut back.
No, exactly. I get it. You know, I think, you know, the point is, you know, what he put mere pennies in. How many, was it even over 100 million or was it only 10 million? It was infinitesimally small.
Yes, compared to what he paid for the policy, compared to what he got back.
Exactly.
And what about urban renewal? Because not only did he get his money for the buildings that were destroyed, he made a killing on them, literally. Okay, now he's got all that land. Remember, there was talk. I don't know if you should remember this, Tim, because and Joe, you're from up north when you were younger, so you remember. I'm sure you might remember this when they talked about urban renewal down there and what they were going to do with that whole area because they used to call them, like you said, the white elephants. They were this big blight on the skyline. Everybody, you know, now everybody's like, oh, the Twin Towers, the World Trade Center. But back in the day, they were hated. You know, people didn't like them. They were ugly. So there's all this talk of urban renewal and what they're going to do down there and, you know, redoing the whole landscape, you know, for a few blocks around there, maybe knocking certain buildings down, putting new buildings up, whatnot.
Right.
And all of a sudden, all this gets taken care of by a bunch of, you know, morons with box cutters flying planes into buildings directed from some douchebag on a dialysis machine in a cave somewhere in Afghanistan. And I'm supposed to believe this.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Joey made a good point, and for those that just might be listening tonight for the first time, you didn't go quite far enough. Joey mentioned that those buildings were full and the abatement, you know, of those buildings was going to cost a lot of money. What he was referring to was that they were full of asbestos, top to bottom, and they were ordered, they had to clean them up. And to clean them up was going to cost billions of dollars, and it was not worth it, and, well, end of story. So,
and then couple that.
According to Ann Coulter, she said there was no asbestos in the
Oh,
building.
I know.
Take it from the
Coulter.
source.
Exactly. Take anything she says and just flush it down the toilet. But what's even more interesting is the fact that on top of that, had they determined that they didn't want to go that route and they wanted to replace the World Trade Centers, could you imagine how much it would cost to do a demolition of the World Trade Centers that would be A, safe, B, environmentally safe?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it would be so damn expensive that there's no way in heck that they would go through with it. So they got, this is how they did it. That's how they did it. Yeah. And you could choose to believe it or not, but hey, when you put 1 and 1 together, it equals 2. That's the way it is. And when you put the evidence together, it tells a story.
Occam's razor.
Yeah, that's right.
If you follow Occam's razor and you just look at it and you look at the evidence, what seems more plausible? There's a little more to it, but that's the basics of what Occam's razor is. What's more plausible? And when you look at the evidence, come on.
You know, the thing about 9/11, for every lie they come up with, I can come up with 10 facts to refute that lie. And you guys could too, and you know it for a fact. That's the way it is.
That's right. When we come back, we'll talk about Kodak. It's Kodak having a secret nuclear reactor down in their basement. So we'll be talking about that when we come back from break. Don't go away, folks. We'll be back in 3 minutes.
And if you have a flashing red button on your Kodak camera, don't push it.
You're right. Oh, I pushed.
You'll see the Shoutcast player. Well, that Shoutcast player gives you a reliable stream, a much more reliable stream. So tune in using the Shoutcast player, and you can listen to that also on your Roku box. Roku also has a Shoutcast app on there. So check out the Shoutcast player and, compare the two streams.
Yep, and don't forget to swing by the page I made for Joe just to copy the code. You don't have to stay there, but copy the code that's there. That's why it's there. It's important you guys copy the code if you have a website and post it on your website, and you will have your own Shoutcast player with the Orion stream, and that would be much appreciated. So if you want to get the code, you can stop by there. Otherwise, head on over to Joe's Orion page.
Yes. And our journey tonight takes us to Kodak. And this is Gizmodo.com. And the title of the article is WTF, Kodak. Kodak has a secret nuclear reactor loaded with enriched uranium hidden in its basement.
Yeah, in Rochester. That's awesome.
In Rochester, yeah. Kodak may be going under, but apparently they could have started their own nuclear war if they wanted to just 6 years ago. Down in a basement in Rochester, New York, they had a nuclear reactor loaded with 3.5 pounds of enriched uranium, the same kind they use in atomic warheads. But why did Kodak have a hidden nuclear reactor loaded with weapons-grade uranium? And how did they get permission to own it, let alone install it in a basement in the middle of a densely populated city? Nobody really knows. Kodak officials now admit that they never made any public announcement about it. In fact, nobody in the city, officials, police, or firemen, or in the state of New York, or anywhere else knew about it until it was recently leaked by an ex-employee. Its existence and whereabouts were purposely kept vague, and only a few engineers and federal employees really knew about the project. It's extremely strange that Kodak managed to get something like this, according to Miles Pomper from the Center of Nonproliferation Studies in Washington. Quote, it's such an odd situation because private companies just don't have this material. While 3.5 pounds of weapons-grade uranium is not enough to create a nuclear bomb, illegal arm merchants are seeking small amounts like this to put them for sale in the black market, which is why the United States has such a tight control on this material. The government doesn't want Iran or Al-Qaeda getting their hands all over the atomic candy for obvious reasons. Kodak's purposes for the reactor wasn't sinister. They used it to check materials for impurities as well as neutron radiography testing.
The reactor is a pizza oven.
Yes, the reactor, a californium neutron flux multiplier, was acquired in 1974 and loaded with 3.5 pounds of enriched uranium plates placed around a californium 252 core. The reactor was installed in a closely guarded 2-foot-thick concrete-walled underground bunker in the company's headquarters where it was fed testing using a pneumatic system. According to the company, no employees was ever in contact with the reactor. Apparently, it was operated by atomic fairies and unicorns. It wasn't until 2006, well, after the terrorist attacks of 9/11, that they decided to dismantle it. Isn't that interesting, fellas?
Amazing.
I love how nobody knows about this. This is like that police department. This came out the other day.
Well, Papa, your
police
dad
department,
worked there, right?
Yeah, my father worked for Eastman Kodak when I was a kid. He has no idea ever that there was ever such a thing in the basement. Nobody knows anything about this. How the hell do you build a reactor in a basement and nobody knows about it? But our government's inept, Joe. They could never pull 9/11 off, right?
Nah.
We're going to go to war for, World War III for Iran getting a nuclear missile or a nuclear weapon, and yet Kodak's got it,
Well, but do you see what my point about the government being inept, Tim, is that everybody says, oh, the government can never pull this kind of stuff off. Really? Well, apparently somebody in the government had to know because, they just don't hand that stuff out to just anybody.
They don't.
The other question is, why the hell did Kodak have it? I know one of their excuses, I think, was to develop film. Right?
What was that?
Didn't they said they wanted to develop film or something like that?
No, man, it was just to test stuff. That's what it was for. It was testing.
Oh,
testing what?
The CIA link, too, guys.
Yeah, it was testing.
Testing what?
Testing.
When the hell is Kodak testing using any type of nuke technology at all?
They used it to check materials for impurities as well as neutron radiography testing.
But for what?
Well, because you need neutrons for radiography testing.
Again, why does Kodak even have this? And Tim makes a good point. We're ready to send people to go kill and die because Iran, oh my God, they might have one. And here we've got one just hanging out in Kodak's basement up in Rochester, New York.
It's great in the chat room. Maybe Kodak was working on a nuclear flash cube. It could be. God only knows.
Right?
Could you imagine?
Your camera that you never have to put batteries in again.
Oh, my goodness gracious. And, of course, today, folks, the senators unveil the Expatriate Act to respond to Facebook's severance tax scheme. Now, there's some funny stuff about this article. And everybody knows that tomorrow the IPO for Facebook is going down. And it's estimated that the people that own the majority of Facebook are going to make somewhere in the range of $104 billion off of this. Well, this guy's share ends up being about $4 billion when all's said and done. So he's living in squalor. But Senator Chuck Schumer has a status update for Facebook co-founders Eduardo Saverin. Stop attempting to dodge your taxes by renouncing your U.S. citizenship or never come back to the U.S. again.
Damn, that sounds just like Schumer.
Can we tell Schumer to get out of the country? Hey, Schumer, why are you blowing the IRS? Do you even know anything, Schumer? Oh, that's right, you do, because you probably want a chunk of that money, you dirtbag. That's why you're all upset.
Yeah, now here's the interesting thing, right? This is an ABC News piece, and Tim and I were talking about this before the show, and it just seems to me that this is fluff. This is kind of just thrown out there to distract.
Yeah,
the reason is because the numbers don't even add up.
Yeah.
If he makes $4 billion on this IPO, let me just give you, this is Math 101, okay? The income tax rate, just alone, to hell with capital gains tax. Let's just talk about income tax. The income tax rate in this country for somebody that makes $4 billion in 1 year is 39.5%. So 39.5% of $4 billion. Now, you probably got some donations going there, some charity. You've probably diverted some funds around. So let's just say he Mitt Romneyed it down to, say, 10 to 15%. Well, they say, ABC News, that this will help him duck out of $67 million in taxes. But on $4 billion, 10%, let's just say you multiply 67 times 10, and you get 670. Well, a 10% That would be $670 million. That's 10% would be $67 million. But we're talking $4 billion.
Yeah.
So the real amount is anywhere from $660 billion to over $1 billion in tax revenue that would be lost if he changes his citizenship. Now, that there is extremely shysty. Just $67 million. People are like, well, that's $67 million. Well, why would you do that for $67 million?
But that's his money.
It is. It's his money.
Again, it's not. Let's not forget. Okay, I don't care what. It doesn't. If this guy's funding something with the New World Order, and then he's a shady bastard and needs to be thrown into a pit of fire. Okay, but if it's really just his money, and he doesn't want to give it to the scumbag Federal Reserve, power to the guy. And
amen to that.
Fuck Schumer for being such a drooling scumbag vulture. I want your money, and I'm going to work with the Federal Reserve and the IRS to get you.
That's right. And if we can't get you in the United States, we're going to get Schmiegel after you. And then he will get you.
It's just unbelievable.
That's right.
The lengths that these scumbags will go to. And again, Schumer's not upholding his oath to the Constitution. This is out of bounds. This is not his ground. He should mind his own business, sit down, and shut his mouth.
But this whole story just smells. Like Joe prefaced, it just reeks to high heaven to me of some sort of look the other way kind of story.
When we come back, Timmy, let's talk about that and get your opinion on that. Broadcast for this evening. I can't believe that 2 hours has come and gone already. Joe Joseph and Tim Watts, our guest Popeye from federaljack.com, and down the rabbit hole here on the Orion Talk Radio Network. And our last two subjects of this evening, Warren Buffett, guys, has just gone and bought 63 newspapers. That's right. He made good Thursday on his promise to buy more newspapers, agreeing to buy 63 daily and weekly newspapers in the Southeast for $142 million from financially troubled Media General.
Did they list the papers he bought?
Wow.
I'm trying to find that out now, but
please, because Southeast, that's by me, and I need to know, because now I need to point out to people down here, do not read that crap.
What's that line from Star Wars? Remember when they blew up the planet? It's as if a million voices suddenly cried out in anguish and then silenced.
Right?
Jesus,
yes.
There goes freedom.
This is the same guy that played the ukulele.
Huh? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Remember that little incident?
I'll be working on the railroad to the Chinese people. I mean, does it get any more slap in the face to the country of China? Anybody that knows history knows that the Chinese were integral in building the railroad in the United States, but as slave labor.
Yep.
And isn't it, I'll be working on the railroad? And I mean, just by a freaking big globalist. Unbelievable. So, yeah, he buys 63 newspapers, guys.
Wow.
And the largest newspapers in the acquired group are the Richmond Times-Dispatch, which sells about 115,000 copies on weekdays and 165,000 on Sundays, and the Winston-Salem Journal, which sells about 58,000 copies daily and 76,000 on Sundays. Altogether, the 17 daily newspapers sell about 400,000 copies on the weekdays. And Media General's total weekday circulation makes it the nation's 16th largest newspaper company. And now a good old-fashioned globalist owns that as well. So you pretty much can bet, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that, the mainstream media is not going to give you the news that you need to know, which is why you really need to get into the alternative media. If you're just listening to the show, if you're just waking up, then by all means, don't get your news from the mainstream media, because it's not news at all. It's just propaganda.
Yeah, we're not owned by Warren Buffett. Sorry, folks.
Yes, it's a damn shame.
And usually we're more, I guess, professional or topic-oriented, but tonight we're just free-flowing, and Joe and Tim were kind enough to let me come on because I was suffering from what I called rant withdrawal because I was not able to do my show yesterday because I had surgery. So they were kind enough to let me come on and rant and yell a little bit and kick things around just to get it out. And I'm kind of cranky today because I'm very sore. So
Get it out of your system, buddy.
Yes, I feel a little better. Thank you.
Feeling good.
Now let me give you the last story of the night. Here we go. Maryland cops giving $1 to drivers with seatbelts.
Whoa! What?
Yeah,
with seatbelts.
With seatbelts.
So you're effed if you do, and you're effed if you don't.
No, Bowie, Maryland. Some police officers in Maryland will be out Thursday giving cash to drivers wearing their seatbelt. But beware, they may give you a ticket if you don't. Prince George County's police will be at Route 301 in Ballpark Drive in Bowie starting at noon, watching passing vehicles. Officers and safety advocates will distribute $1 bills to drivers who had all occupants properly buckled. Those riding without seatbelts will get educational materials and a ticket.
You know what? I don't care. I'd be bitching. You know, if they give me a buck, I say, you had no right to pull me over to give me a damn buck. That's a freaking psyop right there. That's all that is.
Psyop. Yes, let me.
I thought
by giving you $1.
I thought you when you first said that, I misheard you. I thought you said they were getting charged $1. That's why I said, "Wow, you're effed if you're doing your you're getting charged $1." That's like down here we're wearing an Easter bunny costume. Yeah.
I know.
Last month, and people
make it seem like it's okay.
Easter bunny, and they'd lean out the car. Look, the Easter bunny, with their kid, and then the Easter bunny would be telling people around the corner, "Hey, on via radio, blue Honda Civic license plate number, blah 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 blah," and then they'd pull the person over. Cha-ching.
Yeah. Now, see, maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that might have been before inflation had really, really destroyed our economy, where you might have been able to go to McDonald's and get a cup of coffee with that $1. But now, what does that do? $1. Thanks, fellas.
You can't even get a pack of gum with a paid sticker on it for $1.
You can't even. Well, you can get 2 packs of the Wrigley, double mint that are 35 cents a pack now. The little 5 sticks in a pack.
But you know what? It buys them, the people that want to do this, it buys them something far more important, the fact that people buy into the fact that, oh, yeah, it's okay to do that. Sure,
Jack's
it's okay to pull people over.
Jax Rocks in the chat room says, oh, yeah, but it'll cost you $4 in gas while you're waiting the traffic back up because it's stopping everybody. Oh, so true. Yeah, and by the way, you could buy the gum, but it's got aspartame in it.
Yeah, there you go. Have some tumors.
Yeah, so have a little bit of rat poison with your chewing gum as you buy it with your $1 for wearing your seatbelt. Good little.
You want to hear something funny really quick? The other day, wifey and I are at the diner I like to go to. We're sitting there eating. Some guy walks in. He sees me with my tattoos, and he gives me the evil eye, like I'm a dirtbag, right? Sits down at the table next to us, or it's like a booth, and he's all eyeing me up like I'm scum, and very all hoity-toity goes to the waitress. I need sweet and low. And my wife looked at me, and she was like, because sometimes I would say to people if I was in conversation politely in public, hey man, you shouldn't use that. I just looked at the guy and I just smiled. I was like, enjoy. I'm sure you eat that crap all the time. No wonder you're such an anal retentive douche.
So who do you got on the program tomorrow night?
Fetzer.
Jimmy Fetzer.
Professor Fetzer.
Professor Fetzer,
yes,
the Dutch professor.
Yes. He's an encyclopedia of knowledge.
Yes, he is.
He's coming on to talk about Saddam's death and the death of his children. And
let me ask you something. Is he going to let you say anything on your show?
You know what? I don't care. I feel like I got hit by a bus, so it's like I can just ask Jim a question and let him go.
Well, at least you look the way you feel.
Tim Rimshot.
Jimmy.
Jimmy, slow on the draw.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much. And then on Sunday, you got Susan Lindauer coming back?
Yeah, she's coming back on. That's going to be really interesting. She's going to be getting into she got a chance to talk to people while she just came back from Lebanon, and she got a chance to get like an on the ground idea of what their take is on everything. And a lot of them know over there that we're a police state. They know we're totally controlled. They're like, you guys think you're free, huh? Kind of like that attitude.
Isn't that the biggest misconception out there? Well, yes, especially with active duty military. Well, we're going over there to defend our freedom. What freedom? Exactly. What are you talking about? I just drove to a checkpoint where they were checking my license. I was just minding my own business. Yeah, that's freedom. Show me your papers, my friend. Show me your papers. I want to see your papers.
Yeah, so I'm excited. Susan was on last Sunday. It was just too much to get into 2 hours, so I invited her to come back this Sunday. So she was gracious enough to. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome, man. So you got a good couple of shows here coming up. On Sunday evening, Conspiracy Chronicles comes back again. And, typically Tim and I are fairly squared away, and we know in advance what we're doing. But I'm just going to warn you ahead of time. We have no idea what we're going to be talking about on Sunday night. So we're going to be doing our homework over the next 2 days, trying to figure out what topic it is that we're going to actually.
Well, the idea is there's so many conspiracies out there.
That's
trying
the problem.
to find the ones right now that are probably the most prevalent to the whole story. That
exactly.
Yeah.
And herein lies the problem when you talk conspiracy is that you always want to try something that kind of ties into current events or what's going on. So it's always in flux. As a matter of fact, there are some times where we know what we're going to do and then we change it last second just because the events of current events change. So it'll be an interesting show to say the least, but that comes on immediately following Down the Rabbit Hole on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And again, you can check out federaljack.com. Thank you, Popeye, for coming out this evening and ranting and hijacking my show.
No, thank you for letting me hijack your show. As you can tell, I'm a little tired.
Yes, I was like, thank you so much.
Yes, I sound wound down.
Hijacking my show.
He looks better, though, Joe. I mean, you look at him. He looks better. You can tell the tension's gone just because he got to vent.
Well, I also feel a little better, honestly. Like, I can move my fingers today and stuff like that.
Yeah, I see you move that one pretty good.
Yes, I love that. That's fantastic. Although I have to say that I'm glad that the limp wrist syndrome was cured.
Yeah. I can tell you, I wish that was the problem. But it is interesting. I can feel all 5 of my fingers again. So.
Mr. Swish.
Yeah.
Such tarts. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. With friends like these, who the hell needs enemies?
Yeah, it's like jocularity. Well, folks, that is the end of the broadcast for this evening. Tune in tomorrow for the next exciting episode of Down the Rabbit Hole, where you'll hear Popeye say, that's your cue, Popeye.
Jeez, I swear.
Oh, boy, folks. Good night. We'll see you later.